Hey there, Y10. So in this video here, I'm going to be working on the CAS calculator techniques for quadratics, and then I'm going to do a few examples with sketching, factorizing, expanding, solving, completing the square, turning points, x-axis intercepts. That's all in this video, and then there's going to be a separate one for box plots and the 5-number summary. So finding median, standard deviation, finding the mean, all of that you can do on your CAS as well. So this video here is just going to be quadratics, all right? So let's start off, get out your CAS calculator, and what I want you to do is on the home page, don't go to Scratchpad, but actually use this one down here. For reasons, I forgot the reason why, but just stick to this one, okay? So go to the bottom one and just click the Add Calculator. So it should look something like this, and we'll start off on that page, okay? Now, a couple of basic things that you need to commonly use are 3 things. One is called factor. The other one's called solve. These are the 2 most common ones that you would be using, especially for quadratics. Here and there, you would use number 3 is called expand. You don't need to write this down. I'm just going to show you where you can find it because it's all in the same menu section. These are the 3 that I often use, but to the precursor to these 3, I use something that some teachers use differently, but I use a command action. So a command action called define. Okay. And I'm going to show you right here. So let's say this is my question. Okay. So these are the 4 things that I often use very often here. So let's say this is the question. For the following quadratic relation, y equals x minus 3 squared minus 6, right? What I want you to do is to practice defining first. So this define function is going to help you later on, especially for application questions. Define. So how do you use this define? This is what you do. You can type it in. So you can do DEFINE, or you can go menu, actions, so number 1, and then go to define. So menu 1. So if you actually just press the menu button and then press the number 1 and press the number 1 again. So 1, whoops. Let me do it again. Menu 1. That gives you define. Yeah. So instead of typing it, you can press menu 1. So I'm going to write over here. It's better if you had written it as typed in menu, then 1, and then press 1. Okay. So define. What I'm going to do here is very unconventional. Instead of writing y equals to x minus 3, I'm going to get you to practice doing f bracket x close brackets. Okay, so you see the x is down here, the brackets are over here, right? That is your y. And later on, you realize why this is going to be special for you to solve things. Okay, so here we go. The f bracket x close bracket is your y letter equals, now we're going to type the function. So it's x minus 3 close bracket square. So square is that button there, or you can do the power button and then put 2. And then we do minus 6, right? The benefit of defining it, okay, why I want you to define it is to save you time later. So when you start solving equations, you don't have to type it over and over. That means every time I type f bracket x now, it is the expanded version of x minus 3 squared minus 6. That's the expanded version already, okay? If I want to substitute, say, you know how normally if I said, if x equals 2, what is y equal to? You would then have to sub 2 into the equation, right? And if you would do it on your calculator, you would actually do it this way. You do 2, take away 3, bracket squared, minus 6. It takes too long. What you can actually do instead is you can do f bracket. Now, since you know x equals to 2, you replace that letter x with the number 2. And if you press enter, it solves the problem for you. So essentially, you're substituting 2 in. The calculator knows to do 2 take away 3, which is negative 1, square it, and then minus 6, and negative 1 squared is 1, 1 minus 6 is negative 5. See what I'm doing there? So by typing f of x, by defining it first, you make your life easier. So it means that if you want to find the y-intercept, remember the y-intercept is when x equals 0, right? So if you want to find the y-intercept, which is not in this, oh yeah, here. So it says y-intercept. We know this is when sub x equals 0, right? So you can actually just type on your calculator f bracket 0. So x equals to 0, and press enter. It tells you the x-intercept or the y-intercept is 3. So you get the point straight away. See that? But also, you know what's also special is that from here, if you want to find the x-intercept, you can also solve for it. And how you normally find the x-intercept is this what you would do. Mathematically, you say x-intercept is you let y equal to 0, right? And you would have done 0 equals to x minus 3 squared minus 6. True? Well, now you can do it on your calculator very quickly. This is how you do it. So remember how I told you there are a couple of things you'd use? You'll be using solve. So how do you get to solve? How do you get to this point? Down here, how do you get that? Very easy. From here, go menu, algebra. Okay, so menu 3. So I'm going to show you over here. So you type menu 3 for the algebra. And when you press 3, whoops, not there, over here. If I press 3, then you've got solve, factor, expand. Those are all the menus that we often use. Okay, so we're going to go to menu 1. We press number 1. Now, because you defined it at the start, you can now say, remember, you're really trying to solve this one over here. This is your y. But remember, we replaced the y with f of x. So f of x must equal to 0. So all you're really saying here is you're saying solve for f bracket x equals 0. Because you're saying, what if f of x equals to 0? That's the y value, yeah? Y equals 0, solve for x. Now, they know solve for this function, f of x equals 0. And they're saying, comma, you got to put in comma. Comma is found down here. And you tell it what letter to find. So you go comma x, close brackets. Okay, so have a think what I just wrote there. F of x, what is f of x? F of x is this entire line here. Yeah, and I'm saying it's equal to 0. See that? So I'm essentially typing this again, just in a very short form. So when I type f of x equals 0, what that really means is f of x is this, and 0 is there. That's all I'm doing. I know it's a bit confusing for the first time, but all I'm saying is f of x is this, and I want it to equal to 0, and I'm telling it to solve for x. That's what I'm saying. So if I press enter now, it will work out the x-intercepts for me, and that's in my exact answer. Now, if you're getting decimals, you probably want to check your settings. Okay, check your settings. If you want to get an exact value like I have, you got to go menu, document, settings, document settings, and here, under calculation mode, just make sure it's in exact. If you keep it in exact, it will always be in exact form. So when I press OK, this will always be exact. If you want decimal, you just go Control Enter, and then you get the decimal version of it. Okay, so you get the x-intercepts there. So you see the benefits so far. You define first, you can find the y-intercept very quickly. You can find the x-intercept by typing this. Practice it. We can do another one, okay? We'll do another equation. Let's pick another one and let's see if you can do it quickly. So let's say we do this one. Oh, not that one. Let's do, oh, that's weird. I haven't even given you a proper, let's do, no, that doesn't complete the square. Let's do this one. Let's say I wanted you to sketch, to find the x and y-intercepts for this. Yeah? Let's do this one quickly. So if that's the equation, I'm going to start again. Okay, so here we go. Define, so you go to menu, actions, 1, and then press 1 again. So menu 1, 1, define. I go f bracket x. You can use the same letter again. It just overrides it. So f bracket x, so you can use g bracket x. You can use any letter you want. If you use a different letter, it just means it's a different function. Okay? So f bracket x, close bracket, equals, and then now I'll type it in, 2 times x squared plus 9 times x minus 5. Right? So I've got my equation. If I want to find the y-intercepts, which is pretty obvious, it's going to be -5, but you can simply do it by substituting x equals to 0. So I'm replacing the x with a 0 and press enter. There we go, it's 0, -5. So I've got my y-intercept. How do you find your x-intercept? Very easy. We know that we're going to go solving. So menu, algebra, so number 3. Solve, which is number 1. And I'm going to say, I want y to be 0. Now remember, f of x is y. So I'm going to say f bracket x. So that's the function. That's the y value. I want y to be 0. And I want you to solve for x. So you got to press comma, yeah? Comma, which is down here next to the O. X, close brackets. And there you go. I got -5.5, just like that. So I got my x-intercept and I got my y-intercept. If, let's say, you want to find turning point, it's actually easiest to do it through a graph, and you can also get all these intercepts through the graph as well. Okay, but what I wanted to show you there was how to use the solve and define. So all I've done is I've ticked this one off for you, and I've ticked off define. You can do that for simultaneous equations as well. You can solve it, but we'll do that later. Okay, now let's go back for a step. You can pause the video wherever you need. Now, factor, this is special for you guys who can't factorize completing the square or difference of perfect squares, or whether it's cross method, you can use this function. So how does this work? Let's go over these questions here. See how they all say factorize? You can simply get all these answers here by going menu, algebra, factors number 2. So menu 3, 2 will get you factor, and you just type in the equation. So 2x squared minus 8, comma, x. There you go, they factorize it for you. So I now know the answer here is 2 bracket x minus 2, x plus 2. You can do it for even, I guess that's a difference of perfect squares down there. So you can do the same thing here. Factor again, menu, algebra 2. So factor 2x squared minus 18, comma, x. And you get it the same thing again. So this is 2 bracket x minus 3, x plus 3. See that? So you can do it for difference of perfect squares. How do you do it for cross method? Let's go to find one with the cross method, okay? So same thing. I think this is a cross method one. Should be. Let's try it. If I wanted to do this one, same thing again. Menu 3, 2, factor. So 4x squared minus 2x minus 12, comma, x. Close brackets. And it factorizes it for you. 2 bracket x minus 2 to x plus 3. Okay, so I've factorized this using a CAS calculator. If you want to solve it, so let's say you're up to this step and you want to know what x equals to, in fact, you could have just done it from here. You could have done menu 3, 1, so solving, and you can type the equation, 4x squared minus 2x minus 12, comma, x. So you're saying solve for x, solve this equation. Oh, sorry, you need to type in equals 0. It has to be an equation. So solve for x if it's an equation, and there we go. You get negative 3 on 2, so this tells you this should be negative 3 on 2, and this tells you it should be 2. There you go. So I've solved these non-monic trinomials by factorizing, and I've also done null factor law on your CAS. So factor and solve. Pretty easy, yeah? And obviously expand. Sometimes if you want to use quadratic formula, you can expand these brackets. So here it says expand and simplify. So question 3, you can actually just go to your CAS again, and we're using now the third function. So menu, algebra, and now you go to expand, which is number 3. So menu 3, 3 will get you, if you type it in, x plus 1, close brackets, x plus 2, close brackets, and press enter. And there you go. The answer for this one is x squared plus 3x plus 2. And you can do it for all the other ones if you need to expand. Okay, so what I've taught you so far is I've taught you define, I've taught you factor, which is menu 3, 2, and this is menu 3, 3. Okay, these are the most common ones that you'll be using in order to do your algebra stuff. Let's say in these questions here, you're looking for the turning point, right? So let's delete all this. Let's start again. Let's say I'm going to go back to this one again. I'm going to say, all right, let's define. So menu 1, 1. I've got f bracket x equals 2, open bracket x minus 3, squared minus 6. So I'm redefining it again. Here we go. Let's type in the graph. So how do you graph this to find the turning point and all that? Control docs, because that means add a page. So I'm going to add on a page, and you're going to click number 2 for add a graph. Okay? Add a graph. Now, if you want to go back and forth between the calculator page and the graph page, you can go control and the arrow left here. So if I go control, arrow left, I go back to the calculator page. Control, arrow right, brings me back to the graphing page. Now, the beauty of defining it is you don't have to type the equation again. You can actually now just type f bracket x, close brackets, and it knows which graph you want to sketch. So here, if I press enter, you get your graph. Okay, so from here, remember, if you want to find the x-intercept, you can do it through the algebra way. So the algebra way, if you want to find x-intercept, remember how to do it. Menu, algebra, 3, 1, and you're letting y equal to 0. So f of x is your y, let it equal to 0, and tell it to solve for x, so comma x. So you should have 3 negative root 6, or root 6 plus 3, or if you want in decimals, it should be 0.55 and 5.44. Now, if you wonder how I got that, I just went Control Enter, and it approximates it. Okay, now let's do it on the graph. Okay, let's go back to the graph page, and let's see if the x-intercepts are the same, yeah? Here we go. Control, arrow to the right. I'm here, so let's see what the x-intercepts are. You go Menu, and all the things you need to do to find x-intercept and you need to find turning point is all found in number 6, Analyze Graph. So if you go Analyze Graph, the x-intercept is the first one. It's 0. Okay, so you go to 0, so click number 1. So Menu 6, 1. See how this bar comes up? Essentially, it doesn't know where the x-intercept that you want to find, so you got to tell it between what range. So here we go. I know the x-intercept is between somewhere over here, so I go left, click once on the pad, click once. So on your mouse, click once, and then move it across past the x-intercept and press it again. Can you see how it's 0.551? And that's exactly what we got here, 0.55 and then 0.5. Technically, there's more decimals there, yeah, but it's rounded. So it's rounded to 0.551 there. If you want more decimal places, if you hover your mouse over the x coordinate and you press the plus button, the plus symbol, then it opens it up a bit more for you. Okay, so you get 5505. If you want to find the x-intercept on this side, you can do it again. So Menu, 6, 1, and we go again. So on the left, I'll click once, and then I go to the right and I click once again, and it's 5.45. And if you go back to check, it was 5.45 if you round it. Okay? And that's to find the x-intercept. So how do you find then the minimum or the turning point? Clearly, this is a minimum turning point. It's gone down. It's not a maximum. That's a minimum value there. How do you find the turning point? Same thing. Menu, Analyze, and then you got minimum there. So that tells you to find the minimum. So I'll go over here, and where's the minimum? It's roughly between over here, click left once, move it to the right, click again, and it'll find the minimum between that range, and it's clearly 3, -6. So if I answer the question here, I know it's 3, -6, type of turning point, it is a minimum, and clearly axis symmetry is where the x coordinate is, so wherever the x is, so it's at x equals to 3. Okay? And that's the axis symmetry, because if you press tab and type in x equals to 3, wait. Oh, sorry, yeah, you can't do that. Sorry, my bad. Ignore what I just said. You would have to change it. I don't want to confuse you. Ignore it, ignore it. All right. Ignore what I just said. Forget about that. All right, there you go. So you've got minimum, you've got intercepts, and that means if you have a graph with a maximum, you can also do the same. Go Menu, Analyze, and there's a maximum button for you. Okay, so you got to choose the right one to find a maximum or you find a minimum. Cool. And then your last one in the graph is intersection. Now, intersection is easy to find. You know when you're meant to simultaneous equations and find the point of intersection? For example, not this one, not that one. Wasn't there a question? This one. This question over here says determine the points of intersection. Well, you can easily do this one too. You got a straight line, y equals x plus 3, and you've got y equals x squared plus 4x minus 1. You can do this all in the graph setting as well. So how do you do it? Here we go. Press tab. Whoops, what's going on? Press escape and then press tab. So press tab. If you move up or down, it goes through what you've typed. So I'm going to delete f of x so that I don't have the parabola anymore. And I'm going to type in x squared plus 4x minus 1. So here's my new parabola. And my other line was y equals x plus 3. So here we go. Press tab again. And now you're on F2. So it's a second equation. You type in x plus 3. And there's my straight line. So you can see where they intersect. There's 2 intersection points here. So you go Menu, Analyze Graph, Intersection. And here we go. I click left of where I think the intersection is. To the right, click again. You got -4, -1. If you know that there's another intersection point just all the way up here, you can see it's up here. So what you can do again, Menu, Analyze, and intersections number 4. So Menu 6, 4. And here we go. Left of where the intersection is and right of where the intersection is. And there you go. It's 1, 4, and -4, -1. So -4, -1, and 1, 4 are the points of intersection. Obviously, with this question, this was a 3-mark question in your mastery task. So you had to show the algebra to it, but that's the answer. So if you happen to have a multiple choice question, you can find intersections easily. Or if you didn't want to do the graph way, you could also do it algebraically. Let's go back to the graph calculator page, okay? So we go Control, left. Let's say you want to find simultaneous equations of 2 equations, yeah? So quadratic and a linear. You could do this way. Go to Menu, go to Algebra again. Now, because you're solving, see number 7? It says Solve Systems of Equations. Pick the first one, Solve Systems of Equations. Tell them how many equations you have. So I've got 2, and the variables are x and y. Yes, that's true. Press OK. And then now you type it in. So they've got the template for you. All you type in now is y equals to x squared plus 4x minus 1. And the other one is y equals x plus 3. So you press up and down. And now that's all good. Press Enter. And there you go. These are the 2 points of intersection. You've got -4, -1, which is exactly what I've got over here. And then when x is 1, y is 4, which is also what I've got over here. So that's the algebra way if you wanted to do, or you can do it graphically as well. It's up to you. Okay, so what I've taught you so far, you should be able to do all of these questions now from your mastery using your CAS calculator. So you can solve for this one easily as well. So if I want to solve that, I go Menu, 3, 1. And then I type it in, x minus 1, bracket x plus 4 equals 0. I'm doing the first question, by the way, 1a. And then remember to tell it to solve for x, comma, x, close brackets. And there we go. It's -4 and 1. All right. So you can solve all of this. You can now factorize. And there is one last thing I haven't shown you, which is completing the square. Yes, your calculator can even do that as well. So sometimes if you try to factorize this, they're not going to do completing the square for you. You have to do it specifically. So here, for example, if I were to do question 6, if I went Menu, Algebra, and then went to Factor, yeah, that's how you factorize. If I go to Factor and I type in the equation, x squared minus 4x plus 7, and I say comma x, it's not going to factorize it. It's going to be the same thing. This is when you know you got to do completing the square. So here, how do you complete the square? Same thing, Menu, Algebra, and if you see, number 5 is complete the square. So I can go complete the square. Now, because I already typed it before, I can actually even press up and down. See how I press up, down? When it highlights it, I can actually press Enter and it brings it down for me. See that? So I don't have to type it again. And I do comma, X, and look at that. It completes the square for me, and now I know that is completing the square. Okay? So there you go. It's x minus 2 squared. I know it's x minus 2 squared plus 3. There you go. That's completing the square. Okay? I think that should be most of what you need to know for sketching. Although there are little things like if when you're in the sketching component, sometimes you can't see the graph clearly, then you need to learn to adjust the window manually. So if you go to Menu, and you go to Windows, right, so number 4, and see that window settings, number 1, you have to then know your domain and range. You got to figure out what's the smallest x value you can work with, what's the largest x value, and it's a trial and error kind of thing. So sometimes the graphs are a bit harder to see. These are some tips that you can adjust yourself. Otherwise, another way to do it as well, if you say you want to zoom in and zoom out, you can go Menu, Windows, so number 4, and there is zoom out, zoom in, zoom out. I normally don't use these. I normally use zoom box to zoom in. So I can actually make a box. I choose a corner, so I click once, and I move my mouse around, and I might say, I just want to focus here, and I click twice, and it zooms in just within that region. Okay, and if you want to go back, you can actually do Control Escape, and it brings it back. Okay, because you just undoing that step. And the other one I use is Menu, Windows, Zoom Fit. Okay, that's when I don't see the graph, and then I try to get the calculator auto fit it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The best way to do it is a combination of Zoom Box, Zoom Fit, and manually doing it through Windows settings. That's the best way to get the graph nicely in the windows so you can see it. But that should conclude, I know this is a long video, but it should conclude all the skills that you need for quadratics at a year 10 level. There isn't much more, but those are pretty good stuff. So practice what I just taught you so far. If I had to summarize it over here for you, these are your main ones there. So the fourth one, which I didn't mention, was complete the square. And that is menu 3, 5. Okay, and then the next one is graphing. So control plus doc will add on a page. You want to do the graph page. So in there, you'll find that you've got the analyze button. So menu 6, so analyze graph. And then you've got your number 1 is 0, is to find x-intercepts. You've got number 2, which is minimum, to find turning point when it's a minimum. 3 is to find maximum. Again, it's turning point. I think 4 was intersection. And I think those are the main ones that you need. And to adjust windows, to see the graph adjust window, that's through menu 4. And then you've got the options of number 1 for manual. So you're manually fixing it. 2, which is zoom box. I use that quite a bit to get in. And then to get out is an auto fit. So zoom fit. These are my 3 that I normally do for graphing. So this is for graphing, yeah? If you stuck with me all the way to the end of the video and you practiced as I'm explaining it, you've learnt a lot, okay? Even my year 11s normally probably don't know all of that yet. So that's good practice for you there. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an edge when it comes to quadratics and you're trying to sketch and solve your equations and solve the problems. That should help you speed up, okay?